Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I thought we'll go over the Changelog which came out the other day when it came to War Thunder, basically fixing a bunch of the issues that was brought on by Danger Zone and also a bunch of other things such as some map changes which I'm sure will be seen as very welcome. There have been a decent amount of bugs when it comes to Danger Zone. I've been experiencing a lot of little graphical issues here and there. Kind of when I go into like binos and stuff, there'll be like weird lines all over the place. It seems like it's something related to tracks maybe, where the tracks are kind of like spawning and just, I don't know, going everywhere, which is a bit of a problem, but yeah. I put a decent amount of hours into the update so far. I've played on the new map in Ground, and I would say so far so good. You know, I played a bunch of new vehicles. We played the Lancia, the PVKV3, and also the G6 Rhino. The PVKV3 was fun. Had a great time in it. The Lancia was fun as well, and the G6 Rhino should go down in BR. It's a vehicle which is in a pretty bad place at the moment. It reminds me of the band cannon when it first came out, where it was just too high BR, and therefore it was just in a bit of an awkward place to play because it had a lot of deficiencies to it. The Rhino is the same way. It's too big, it has no armor, it has no real utility. The only utility it has is its smoke grenades, and they actually are like old smoke grenades, so they have to hit the ground to pop. And also, at the same time, half of them don't even cover your vehicle because they have such a wide splash on them. Also, the gun is quite nice, but also temperamental against heavy tanks, which you face quite a lot unless you hit cupolas. And you don't have a rangefinder, you don't have really anything like that. You have okay optics to be able to fire stuff, and on half of the terrain in the game, you are slow as all hell. So the combination of the long reload, the issues with mobility, the fact that there's no like secondary purpose of this thing, I would personally put it down in BR. I did have a positive win rate in it, I did have a positive KD in it, but I didn't really enjoy my experience with it, just because of its downsides. Anyway, let's get into the changelog itself. So starting off with some interface changes, surprisingly enough, the speed, altitude, ammo, and torpedo indicators have been restored to aircraft HUD. So if you didn't know what happened, it was like a mini patch which came through on, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, and it basically broke the HUD for airplanes. So everything, or most things, were COLL, C-O-L-L, and it meant that a lot of people didn't know how fast they were going. It meant that there was a lot of crashes. It meant that landing was very hard to do, and it was just kind of funny to watch. Like, I was playing the SP2C, just getting a daily done, and it was hilarious just seeing just random stuff happening. And it shows you how important just like little things like that are, so people, you know, can actually play properly, so they don't have to kind of fly on instinct and all of that. But yeah, was definitely interesting to see. Flight parameters, engine, and ammo indicators have also been temporarily switched back to the old interface with color selection disabled. The new HUD version will be back when found issues are resolved. So it looks like instead of doing a quick fix, they have reverted the changes, so it's obviously not too much of a quick fix. The fact that you can now have different colors for the HUD, I think is actually pretty cool. More customization is always better. The only thing that the game is missing right now is the ability to move around HUD elements. It has pretty much everything else that you would want in the game. There was actually a game which, I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically a new age version of Quake, and the idea was that you could actually customize the whole of the HUD to what you wanted to do, just move everything around. And I'm wondering if War Thunder will ever get to that point. It would be kind of cool if it did. It's not really necessary, but as always, more customization is always good when it comes to that, because it means that people can play the game to how they want to. You know, it just means that you can tailor the experience to your own. Now, some aircraft changes. On the SB2Cs, they fixed the elevator animation. Same with the Seahawk, and so I'm guessing it wasn't working. I didn't really see too much of an issue with it, but c'est la vie. At least it's fixed now. The LODs have been fixed on the i15 bis. I was actually talking to Freeman, and he was telling me that he was getting attacked by invisible planes. And being Freeman, I find it quite hard to believe him. But then at the same time, I did remember they updated the models recently in the last updates, and that can cause weird stuff to happen. So he was basically seeing flying engines running around. The Vigan, the J37C, the flap animations has been fixed. The animation of the intake hatches when reverse thrust is engaged has been fixed, which is nice. So overall, not too shabby. The AC-15, the damage effects have been fixed. I am having an issue where when I take damage, I'm like getting a blacked out part of that plane. So it's as if it's not loading in the damage part of the skin. Instead, it's just loading like a black thing. And I don't think that's my GPU. The problem with War Thunder updates is I need to work out what is the game's problem and what is my GPU's problem. Because my GPU is really good, and overall it hasn't let me down. But at the same time, I'm always worried about it failing because of the fact that it's a new GPU and a decent amount of them fail. And every time a War Thunder update comes out, I have a mini freak out because I don't know whether it's the GPU giving up or if it's the game. Luckily, so far, it's always been the game, so hopefully that continues. The SK60B, the animation of the intakes hatches when reverse thrust is engaged has been fixed, so the same as the Vigan. The RR81C, they fixed the flap animation from the cockpit view. Same thing happened with the P39 and 400. Same with the Tempest, Mark II and Mark V. So this seems to have been quite a large issue across a number of different planes. So not just something when it comes to a specific one. Also, the bomb bay animations have been fixed on the P3s and the B25J. The FJ4B's flaps have been fixed. They must have like fundamentally changed some of these systems because otherwise, why would stuff like this happen? What would affect these things? You know, when it comes to the actual game itself, like what other changes could you do which would break these ones? Has to be some kind of way that the models are actually handled. Also, the MiG-21 PFM, a bug has been fixed where the KH-66 missile was indicated as an air-to-air missile. Well, I suppose it could be an air-to-air if you try hard enough, but yeah, it is definitely an air-to-ground one. The Typhoon Mark 1B, spelled Typhon, which is quite fun. A bug has been fixed where rocket rails appeared on the right wing when suspended bombs were mounted. Yeah, I did have that issue, actually, and I'm glad that they fixed that pretty quick. Also, the same thing was happening with the MD450B, so once again, just a very weird bug. Like, why would it be just rocket rails on the right-hand side of it, and why would it be on these two separate planes? Just seems really odd to me. The Seeker on the Mistral Type 91, the HN6, the Stinger missile can now be uncaged before launch, which is useful. Most of those missiles are still not great at what they do, but at least it is an improvement for them. The tracked target representation on the radar scope has been changed. The velocity vector has been added, which is cool. More information is power, and they added a track while scan mode for the J37 Vigan radar. So it should have exactly the same, well, not exactly the same capabilities of the F14, but at least improved capabilities compared to what it had before. They added a Doppler notch filter for the F4J, F4M, FGR2, the F4K, and the T2, preventing it from detecting beam targets as well as targets with small relative speed, so that should be quite nice. They've also changed the better acquisition range and lifetime for the Matra R530F. I've heard bad things so far about the Mirage F1CT, but as I've said previously, whenever a new French plane comes in, I just hear bad things, that it is terrible, and then I actually have a look at it and see people play it and play it myself, and it doesn't seem that bad. So, I don't know, I feel like France is going through that stage where Britain went through a few years ago, where everybody just thinks they're a terrible nation to play, and I don't know why. The aviation part is tough, but the actual like high tier stuff, like there's some gems there. Like the Mirage 3s are very good vehicles for their BRs. The MiG-27K, a bug with the display of the Kyra targeting equipment has been increased, which is nice, and the F4 Phantom, a bug has been fixed with constant cannon rotation on the GAU 4 pod, which is a bug on a lot of vehicles, if I'm honest with you, when it comes to the rotation setup. They also did some ground changes, including the T-3485D5T. The armor on the turret ring has been fixed, so overall that's pretty nice. And then also the ZTZ96, the incorrect equivalent armor durability of the turret front has now been corrected. Now it corresponds with the armor value parameters as before, which is nice. Talking about the T-34, I noticed something while playing a lot of mid-tiers the last few days, grinding out some of the new vehicles. A lot of people talk about the fact that, at least at high tiers, there's not a lot of variety. Basically, everybody just plays the same vehicles and stuff. That's why they prefer low tier, because there's more variation. I don't know where this idea comes from at all. All I see is Sherman's T-34s, KVs, and Tigers and Panthers. That's all I see, ever, when it comes to like the mid-tiers of the game. I don't see anything else. Nobody is trying these weird and wacky things. There might be like one person who is like in the STRV, you know, the squish tank or something like that for Sweden. But the vast majority of the time, you're just seeing the same things over and over and over again. So I don't really agree with this whole variety thing that I've heard people talk about. Also in Naval, a bug has been fixed where in some cases the toolset modification disappeared after the battle. So good that they fixed that. The Carco, now the ability to fire main and auxiliary calibers with a single key, that's been added to basically everything. I kind of like the change, but also at the same time, I'm just finding, at least for me, I keep just overheating my secondary guns and not using them for their main purpose, which of course is generally AA. I feel like it would be nice if you could toggle the use of the fire main and auxiliary calibers with a single key instead of having to go into the controls and do it. That would be quite nice in the game, because sometimes I do want to use them if I'm using them to attack targets close to me, but sometimes I would prefer them to, target different targets while I am targeting the other ones, and I can't quick switch between them because it's an on-off option in the controls. The HMS Hood, the displacement value in the info card has been fixed, which is fantastic. The Kern, Lubeck, and HMS Leopard, a bug has been fixed that prevented water pumping, which I suppose is also quite good. And a bug has also been fixed where naval shells were able to travel in an unrealistically excessive distance underwater. So they were basically being used as torpedoes, which is kind of fun. They did change a lot of ballistics under the waterline in the last major update, so I'm guessing that is something that happened there. So hopefully it's a little bit better now. Now, when it comes to missions and locations, basically the preset for aircraft available in air battles and ground AB has been changed once again. So aircraft with ATGMs, if they have Mavericks or the K-29T, they've added in the last update, have been moved from the list of available bombers and attack aircraft. The aircraft with large caliber unguided rockets, the S-24s, have also been removed from the list of available bombers. So there was obviously something wrong going on with them, or maybe they weren't as effective, or something was jank. It's nice to see that they've trying to work out what the issue is there. And also, the biggest change of this changelog, the restrictions on the availability of number of missions in ground battles from the BR sessions has been changed. So all missions in the locations Frozen Pass, Ash River, Karelia, Kuban, Jungle, Volokholamsk have been limited to vehicles below a BR of 8.7. So finally, after a year or so, and we talked about this at the time, that this was going to happen, but a bunch of people were kind of annoyed that it wasn't happening sooner, which I think is a fair point. It was very obvious that what they were going to do with the map rotation filter was not just give it, it wasn't just going to be a way that people could pick what they wanted to see in the match. It was also going to be a way that Gaijin could collect information on what maps people wanted to see at specific tiers. So obviously, at higher than 8.7, these maps were obviously disliked a lot, or they were banned a lot, to be able, so now they're kind of removed to try and free up some of the map rotation for other people, which I think is quite good. Also, at the same time, all missions in the Red Desert have been limited to vehicles above a BR of 9.7. This is something that should have been done anyway a very, very long time ago. Don't know why it wasn't like that to start with. It was very odd playing 6.0s on that map when it first started, and even now it is a little bit odd to play. But at least now it's limited. It means that it can, help people, or, the tiers which aren't as mobile don't have to suffer on it. Also in AB only, all missions in the location's European province, fields of Poland, have been limited to vehicles above a BR of 9.7, which is nice. And then in RB only, the domination and battle missions in the location surrounding Volcalamsk have been limited to vehicles above a BR of 9.7. What also should be done with that map is it should be removed from the game. The surroundings of Volcalamsk is a terrible map. The changes that they've done to it have done absolutely nothing for its usability. It is not a good map. It is trash. Just remove the damn map. You don't have to make everything work. It's like the Mean Girls thing. Stop trying to make Fitch or Fetch work. It's not going to work. It's the same thing with surroundings of Volcalamsk. It's not going to work. Just remove it. I know whoever designed the map really wants it back in and really wants people to enjoy it. It's not fun. Just get rid of it. Or make it summer so you can actually move around with wheeled vehicles instead of being stuck in the snow all the time. Especially at higher tiers where there's been more of an emphasis on wheeled vehicles more recently. Also, capture and battle missions on location Fulda have been limited to vehicles above a BR of 9.7. I think that's fair. Hopefully they've changed the battle mission on Fulda. I saw that they did change the battle mission on Finland, which is quite nice. So it isn't just a whoever gets the cap first. They need to do the same thing with Fulda as well, because that is just a map where people just try and cap each of the zones and don't really fight. They also have new mission variants have been added to the rotation for ground battles. They've actually just brought back a bunch of different variants. So basically on Domination 2, the missions in the location Second Battle of Alamein and Hutgun Forest have been added to sessions of BR of 5.0 and higher. These are basically the ones which try and extend the map out, adding different zones to them. Generally, these are old ones. These are old missions that they brought back. The Hutgun Forest one isn't great because the map is a little bit too spread out. Basically, all of the fights don't really conjoin together, and being able to move between the points can't really be done because you have no man's land between them. So it's more of a case of just once you're committed to a point, you can't really do anything about it. That's a bit of an issue. They've also added a new one to Mozdok, and they've added two to Vietnam and Maginot Line. I've heard that in Vietnam they've done a bunch of changes to the map, but I haven't seen it yet. So, it's simple as that, really. And also, they have put the small variants of Vietnam and Maginot Lion at BRs of 3.7 or higher in AB and BR of 5.0 or higher in RB. The Domination number 1 and Battle number 1 for the small variants of Fulda are available for BR of 6.7 and higher now as well. They also fixed a bug that allowed driving outside the mission borders in the Fulda Camp mission. Wonderful stuff. And also they've fixed a bug with the capture points in Port Novorossiysk where placed close to the buildings, so obviously that wouldn't work too well. They also fixed a bug with some trees in the Guadalcanal location, which were hanging in midair, and the Czech hedgehogs have been removed from passages in the Stalingrad and Berlin tank locations, hopefully to mean that you can move around a little bit better. Berlin still is a really tough map, by the way. Hopefully at some point Berlin gets a remodel. I know they just removed White Rock Fortress, which is fair. There was some very much problematic areas of White Rock Fortress, especially in the south, but in Berlin it is way worse as a map when it comes to abuses that can be had. And all of these abuses have pretty much existed since the map has come out, and there hasn't been a remodel. I don't know if people like this or not, but it's very easy to dominate on one side. Also, sound. The balance of the sound groups have been slightly corrected, so bullet fires, gunshots, and allied enemy explosions, etc. The new sounds sound nice. I only really have one issue with them, and it's the priority. And they just talked about it here, the balance of the sound groups. The priority of plane engines is very low, it seems, compared to everything else. So if anybody is firing in the vicinity, if there's an explosion in the vicinity, you can't hear enemy planes anywhere near you until they're right up on you. This means that, like a person like me, who can't see very well, I rely a lot on audio to tell me where people are coming from, and directional audio is incredibly important. And if the directional audio is off, then I'm going to be off, and that's basically what's been happening. So if a plane is already within about 1 kilometer of me and I can't hear it, he's going to kill me, or, she's going to kill me. There's not a lot you can do to be able to get away from that. And I wish it was just extended a little bit. The low frequencies of the tank gunshots have been slightly increased, and the low frequencies of the explosions have been slightly increased. And also, allied enemy helicopters have become more distinctive from the ground, meaning that you can actually hear them. At least it wasn't as bad as a few updates ago, where you could have helicopters hovering above the battlefield and you couldn't hear them. At least now you can hear them not too badly. Then also, there's a bug that might cause the client to crash when rewinding a client replay has been fixed, so that's overall pretty good. So, a bunch of bug fixes for the most recent update, a bunch of map changes, which I'm sure people will enjoy. Hopefully, this means a kind of new dawn when it comes to map rotation in War Thunder, where we have specific maps for specific BRs, but it will all be based on player feedback at the end of the day. So hopefully it all goes well, and hopefully people will enjoy it. I hope you guys are also enjoying the new update. I haven't played the F-14 yet. A lot of people have asked me my opinion on it, and I don't have one, because I'm purposely staying away from that BR bracket right now, because I'm sure it is all hell. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.